Yo guys, what is up, man? Welcome back to a brand new video here today on the channel. Today, we're coming out to this here little loaded juicy pond to hopefully get on some big summer bass. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, so like I said, today we're coming out to this here juicy little pond here. This is not a pond I fish a whole lot, but I have had some decent luck, including getting on last year one of my biggest fish of the year. So I know there's big fish in here as well, but I'm just going to start out with this little googan bait saucy swimmer. I got a finesse bait tied on, just a little wacky rig, as well as a little topwater frog, which may or may not come into effect today, depending on how good the bite is. But we're just going to be kind of casting around some of these shallow, grassy, and kind of areas with structure to hopefully get on some big bass. So let's get right into it. Got him, there we go. That was so quick. That was like third cast with a little swim bait. That was so sick. Casted up the little swim bait just along the bank, and this dude cranked it. This is a nice chunky guy. He's actually been caught before. He's got a hook mark in the top side of his mouth. That's my hook mark right here. And he's all bloodied up over there. But a nice little chunky guy. Pitched up the swim bait right up shallow, right next to kind of an overhanging tree. He absolutely just cranked it. First one of the day. Nice little chunky guy, nothing too special, but number one of the day. Let's get him back in the water. Alright guys, number one at this pond. Absolutely cranked that swim bait right next to the overhanging kind of branches right there. I saw a bunch of bluegill, and then he just absolutely cranked it. Let's get him back. Nice graceful release back in there. He must have been sitting right under that tree, because as soon as my bait went under it, he absolutely cranked it. Not a giant, just a little small chunky guy, but just on that 3.3 googan bait saucy swimmer, super natural color, right up shallow. Can you go to the third pond? Oh, there's a fish. Got it. That's a better fish too. It's a better. Oh, he came off. Dang it. Are you kidding me? That was a better fish too. Cranked it. Oh, got another one. That one's nowhere near as big, but there was a school of them. The other one was actually a pretty good fish. I mean, this one's, just a little micro guy, but that last one was a good fish. Decent fight on him too. There's a school of them right there. 2 casts in a row, fish cranked it. Other one popped off. You guys definitely could have seen that. And then this one cranked it next cast. Definitely the smallest one of the group. Lost the decent sized one. But let's get him back and cast back in there. Alright, let's just drop this little guy back. Can't believe that decent sized fish. I mean, it wasn't a giant. Could have been close to 2.5 pounds, but just absolutely cranked the swim bait. Right over where I saw that school. I saw a school of fish kind of move over in that direction. And I got bit two casts in a row. Obviously, the smaller one got hooked, unfortunately, but at least there's some action. Oh, bass just followed up. He ate it. Got him. There was another one following him. There's like 3 bass following him up to the bank. I picked up a little drag and drop, maybe get a little finesse bite, and I pitched it. I casted it right over where I had gotten those other fish. And there was a school of them just chasing this guy up, trying to like get the bait out of his mouth or just chill out for a second. That was so cool. Alright guys, number 3 on the day. Nothing too special, but I'm going to get him back super quickly here. Just drop him back in there. I switched up to just something a little bit more finesse. Something I could move a little bit slower over just that area, since I figured maybe the swim bait was just moving a little bit too fast for those fish. And I switched up to this. Maybe they followed it all the way. Another one's got it. Oh man, another one had it. But I reeled it up to maybe, I don't know, 5 or so feet from the bank, and there was just a school of them sitting right behind it. And they're all like playing with the bait. And then that dude was finally the one to take it. Oh, there's another one right there. He followed it up. He ate it. Got him. It's a little tiny guy. Is he still even on there? No, he's not even on there anymore. It was a little tiny guy. I barely even set the hook. That was so cool though. Just came up in from out a little bit deep. Another one just grabbed it. Got him. Got him. It's instant with these fish. This pond is usually a little bit more difficult to find them too. And I'm noticing, ooh, that dude has some sort of sore on the bottom of his mouth right there. That's kind of a little bit gross right there. But there just seem to be stacked out there with the swim bait and with this little finesse drag and drop. They're just cranking it. Let's get this, what is this, number 4 on the day? Let's get him back. All right, guys, this guy got some sort of growth on his mouth, but I'm gonna just toss him right back in there. I see another one too. This pond is usually a little more difficult to fish, but they seem to be all schooled up right now. And they're just little guys. Obviously, the biggest one that I've seen today, I lost on that swim bait. But they're just absolutely cranking it. I mean, I'm not casting that far out either. Just pitching it a little ways out there, and there's a school of them. Oh my God, that's like a 6-7 pounder. That is so big. He was following this little binny bait up too. I don't even want to move it. Oh my God. That was massive. I thought I saw a bigger one out there. I just saw the tail of it. But that was, and he was following this bait in. That was a giant. Someone's got my bait. Someone's taking my bait. Just playing with it. Got him, got him. Not the giant. Still probably the better one of the day. One of the better ones of the day. Just playing with my bait down there. But I just saw a giant sitting right there, following this little drag and drop in. I don't really have anything super great tied up for a bigger fish, but what is that, number 5, 6 on the day? There's so many right here. I'm just trying to find, I mean, that big one, I don't know if it was schooled up with them, but it was definitely coming from around the same area that these little tiny guys were at. Let's get this guy back. All right, guys. Decent little one on the day. Probably, what, number 5 or 6? I'm not sure. Let's get him back. Just absolutely played with that bait. I still can't get over there was such a big fish right in this area. That was... I just saw just like the outline of a fish following it up. I couldn't tell if it was just like a few fish that were kind of grouped together, but then it came right up shallow, following this bait. That's a fish. There we go. Reeled that one in much slower too. I was reeling that in super slow. Figured I'd move it a little bit lower in the water column. Maybe these fish were a little bit less aggressive than I thought they were. And this dude just cranked it. First cast, reeling that bait in just a little bit slower. Again, natural colored, 3.3 inch googan baits, saucy swimmer. Nice little fish. Again, in the same spot. They're so stacked in this little spot. Definitely, at least this guy was looking for something a little bit slower, which is why I probably got so many fish there on the little wacky rig. But another decent little fish. I mean, just another little half pounder, but let's get him back. All right, guys, another okay little fish here. Let's get him back. Like I said a few times, I just kind of casted that around the same spot that I've been casting, just like right up along this bank towards this little brush pile here. And instead of moving that faster kind of along the top of the water, I kind of put my rod tip down a little bit and just kind of slow rolled it near the bottom. That's another one. Got it. Oh, that was another one. They're definitely keying in on that, because that's 2 casts in a row now. We've gotten 2 bites. And I did get a few fish moving this in fast. I did get a bunch of fish on that wacky rig as well. They want something just a little bit slower, or maybe lower in the water column. Maybe a little combination of both. That's fish. Running with it. Got it, got it. Same spot. Same spot. Just let that bait switch up to the wacky rig from that swim bait for a few casts, something a little bit slower. Just letting that bait sit on the bottom. It only took a few casts. And that's another one. We've caught so many fish in this spot, not even been fishing for a super long time. They just, every 3-4 casts or so, it's a bite. And then a lot of those bites turn into just little fish like this. They're definitely a school of little, tiny, aggressive guys like this one. But, I mean, like I said, I have lost a decent fish. And then, obviously, I've seen one that was absolutely giant. I'm not sure if that fish was in the school or just kind of coming up shallow to see what all the kind of commotion was. But that's so sick. There's so many fish in this little spot. And I've noticed that a few of these fish have had other hook marks. This guy's got 1, 2 other hook marks in him from other hooks. And that's the third fish, or second or third fish that I've seen that on. Let's get him back in the water. All right, guys, another little aggressive guy. There he goes. Just switching back and forth between this little finesse presentation of this wacky rig, this little small dragon drop, which is just what I had tied up, and that more moving bait, reaction style bait in that swim bait over there, and just casting right around this area. Some of them seem to be kind of right on the end of this fallen tree that I'm standing on right now, and some of them just seem to be just a little ways away, right next to kind of a little brush pile, a few branches in the water, just probably 20 feet that way. And really around this whole kind of little area right here, they're all stacked up and aggressive. All right, guys, that's gonna about do it for today's video. Ending it off with that little fish right there. We didn't fish for a super long amount of time, but there was definitely a bunch of fish up shallow in that particular area, and we were at least able to get on a bunch of fish. Not the best size. I did see a few decent fish mixed in with those smaller aggressive ones, but definitely a decent little day of fishing. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you hit it with a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you are new to the channel. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. As of recent, I'm definitely going to be coming back here for maybe a little bit more of a prolonged period of time with some better baits tied up to maybe get on some bigger fish here. Because like I said, I have caught some giant fish. One of my biggest fish of last year came out of this pond. So I'm definitely going to be coming back here in the near future to hopefully rack up on some big fish here. But thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.